Well, it's time to talk about the entirety of my manga log for 2021. One, I quite enjoyed doing this. It was very, I don't know, cathartic, interesting to, just watch and see as the year went on and how my reading habits changed and stuff. So, one, I thought I was gonna have like a similar format for, how I did my usual manga logs, but I then got around to finding out how many volumes I read and how much I read a lot. I read a fuck ton. So, just numbers. One, I read a grand total of 566 volumes of manga. One, I probably could have read more, but there's reasons, I'll get into that. It's a lot. I'm not going to go through all, there's probably ones that I haven't talked about that I thought I was going to talk about, but quite literally, there's so fucking many of them that it literally is going to be so difficult. Comics would be easier because I only apparently read 4. I'm still going to keep it in my manga logs because at some point I'm probably going to buy more comics. It is what it is. And I quite enjoyed it. The few that I did read, I'm more of a manga reader, as you can probably tell, but the few times that I read comics, I quite enjoy them. And there are several other ones that I read when I was younger that I would like to get nowadays. They might be a little bit harder to find, but it is what it is. I also finished 24 series, which I didn't really think I was going to. Granted, most of the ones that I finished were anywhere between 1 to 3 volumes. Some of them were 4 or 5, but the majority of them that I finished were around 2 or 3 volumes long for the series. Though there were some that I definitely read that were longer, like I finished Demon Slayer as well as Promised Neverland. Those ones I do remember finishing. I think a lot of people remember finishing those. Those were pretty popular. And I could go through them and be like, hey, these are my opinions again, but probably not. And then I also, because I was interested, I probably missed 1 or 2. I counted them by hand and from this. Started 86 series. Granted, a few of those, because they were 3 volumes long or 2 volumes long, I think I finished them as well this year. So, all in all, it's a large majority of volumes that I've read, and it's a lot. I probably read a lot more than I thought I was going to, but at the same time, I probably could have read way more, because if you watch my all of my manga logs, which thank you, I guess, and if not, it'll be linked somewhere, but the beginning months of the year 2021, I read a lot more. I was in the 70s. Let me just go ahead and flip to the beginning pages, because in January I read 79 volumes, which was crazy. And I kept roughly the same pace in February, even if it was a shorter month with 71 volumes. But by March is when it started getting to the max of 43 volumes. I've noticed that if I'm reading regularly during the months, because this is something I've keeping track of what I was reading, I noticed that my average for the higher number, if I actually am reading normally and not trying to just consume everything, is somewhere in the 40s, like 45s. But months that I didn't really read that much would be in the, what is it called? 30s to mid 20s. So, for instance, May, as well as in June and July, those were the ones that I didn't really read that much. But that is also because I think I talked about this. If not, this is a good opportunity to talk about it. One, COVID hit everyone pretty fucking hard in the industry that I have talked about. But if this is your first video hearing about it, I work in the live event industry. That means I do stuff for like concerts as well as corporate gigs and festivals, that type of deal. But I work as a shop tech for that company. I'm not going to say anything else. Most companies that were in that got hit pretty hard. I didn't have any real overtime for a while, and I didn't get a raise until literally earlier this month, and it was kind of hard at points that I needed to cut back on manga and spending money on manga. But as of the beginning of this year, the boss gave us all raises just to try and keep up with other companies, which, I'm fine with, and I got a hefty pay bonus. So yeah, I'll probably still be reading roughly the same amount that I have been reading, which is like 43 to 45 volumes. I may read more, may read less. It just depends. Because, one, as much as I enjoyed reading 70 plus volumes each month, it hurt the wallet at points. And I probably shouldn't have been reading that much. Though, I still found enjoyment with it. And yeah, I mean, it's been a sucky last couple of years anyways, and any sort of enjoyment that I find, I seize it with vigor and hope that it keeps on going. Though, again, sometimes it doesn't. But it's so fantastic. I have read a lot of volumes, and me trying to figure out which ones to talk about would take too long, but some observations I'd rather talk about. I would probably change up this format for next year's wrap up, just because this year, this is my first time doing a manga log, so I just wanted to give you my thoughts and opinions on the activity as a whole, and some observations as well that I saw, like in my reading. One, obviously, I don't really read on Thursdays. The majority of this, whenever you look at it, whenever it's a skip, you would probably notice that skip is on Thursdays and Fridays, just because I, one, am watching Critical Role on those days. Thursdays, I usually do that, though this year, because they are taking Thursdays off the last week of the last Thursday off of the week, I may start reading more or playing video games more. I don't know, or catch up on random other things. And Friday, because I start watching it on Thursday, but I'm not going to be staying up late to watch it all because I don't live right in LA. So I can't be like, yep, I'm watching it as soon as it comes on at 7 o'clock. And then being able to go to bed at a regular time. No. I watch somewhere around half of the way of it, or an hour or so of it, and then go to bed so I can go to work the next morning. It is fantastic all in itself, but Fridays I usually just watch Critical Role, the rest of it, and then maybe play a game or two and then go to bed. That's just how I view it. Obviously, the weekends I read far more than I do during the week, just because I'm not working 8 hours a day. And I can, sit down, relax, binge read, like anywhere between 4 to 8 volumes, sometimes 10 volumes of manga, and be happy. And it legitimately is just how it is with that. The other things I've noticed is that if it's like one of those volumes that just quite literally drains your will to live, like any Blood on the Tracks volume I read, I usually take an exorbitant amount of time to just relax and think about all of my decisions in my life. Or just stop reading for the rest of the day because I'm like, fuck me. But in other cases, I can read like several shonen manga back to back to back and be perfectly fine. It legitimately, because of how I read things, which is just whatever order I picked them out and bought them. As a result, I have a weird spattering of things, and I read like I have 50 ongoing series that I'm reading. Sure, does that mean that's a good idea? No, fuck no. You probably want to read everything at one chunk, but it allows me to change it up a bit so I'm not reading the same stories over and over again. It just allows me to have variety while I'm reading. What other things did I notice? I kind of want to read more comics, but I feel like comics are sometimes more expensive than manga. And I'm not going to go out and buy a single issue of a comic. I'd rather get the volumes of them, the trade paperback at the very least, so I can, have something to put on the shelf. Granted, it's down in the corner, and I think I'm choosing not to read as much comics right now, because if I do, I have to move everything from that shelf and start pushing it down and then around and around and around until I get to the new ending, which is this shelf. I have a lot. Other things that I have noticed, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I have a better understanding of what I'm reading if I'm writing it down. I don't know if it's just because I'm actually actively keeping track of what I'm reading, but maybe that could be the case, or it's just in my mind moving forward as I read that I am going to be keeping track of it. But that still doesn't change the fact that I keep on accidentally buying the same volume several times. Like, literally today I had to go to my local Books A Million to return Die Dark 3 because I accidentally bought it last week. And I realized that when I came home and realized, fuck! Yeah. I mean, it still happens. I just need to update my actual list. So, but I haven't done that in a few years. But yeah, for the most part, I enjoyed doing the Manga Log. I enjoyed keeping track, seeing how I read from month to month, as well as sometimes how I'm feeling. Like, sometimes at points I didn't feel like reading any volumes, and I just skipped a day. Sometimes I didn't feel like reading more, and it kind of gives me the sense of how I read. Granted, for a few months I didn't really buy that much manga so I could save money, so I can pay bills like an adult. Ugh. But yeah, it's just been very interesting. Going forward, maybe next year when I do this again for 2022, I'll probably keep in mind certain favorite series that I read that year. But I legitimately have so many that I can't really choose, and if I do that, it will be an extremely long video that I don't want to edit. So, yeah. All in all, it was good. I've already started my Manga Log for the great January of 2022. Oh, look at that. So, yeah. To keep up to date with everything that I'm reading, though, because I keep on forgetting to do this in every single one of these, but if you want to know exactly everything that I'm reading, because I don't talk about everything that I'm reading in those videos, or they will be hours long, follow me on Instagram. I do post roughly daily. It just depends. But I do show pictures of what I'm reading, the volumes, and yeah. So if you want to keep up to date with that, you can do that. You can also follow me on Twitter. I don't really post that much. I've just started to remember that I could also link my Twitter and my Instagram together. So yeah, that was a thing that I completely fucking forgot. Sometimes I'm an idiot about this, but yeah, that's it. I quite enjoyed this, and my next year's Manga Log recap review thing will have a lot more of the series that I read and talked about, but I just wanted to give you my opinion on how my first ever Manga Log went, which I think it went pretty well. Also, views-wise, for video-wise, it was good to have a consistency. Like, every month I knew that I was going to make at least one video, and that was the Manga Log. And sometimes they did better, other times they did worse. Literally, my last Manga Log has been the most popular one. Maybe it's because I talked about JoJo's again, or what have you. I don't know. So, yeah. That's it. I think I finished my rambling. Yeah. Hopefully all of you have had a great first month so far of the new year. Hopefully the world doesn't end. Hopefully the powers that be don't fuck up everyone. You know, we're in this, and yet we're just, I don't know. Hopefully it's better. Probably not. So, just stay safe. You know, stay safe. Read manga. And that's it. Bye.